Flexible Job Search presented by FlexJobs. Today we're just going to be talking a bit about flexible job searching and all sorts of different topics related to that. So our panelists today are Sarah Sutton-Fell. She's the founder and CEO of FlexJobs. Sarah, hello.
Hello, thanks for having. Well, thank you to everybody for joining. It's wonderful to be here, and we love the opportunity to kind of share some of our experience, and also to get questions from some of our potential users and just job seekers in general.
Great, and thank you for being here. And we also have Jeremy Anderson, the Director of Client Services at FlexJobs. FlexJobs. Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, Bree. Good to be here as well, and yeah, look forward to just kind of sharing some of what we've learned over the last few years with FlexJobs and pass that along to everybody listening today.
Great, thank you. And I'm Bree Reynolds. I'll be the moderator today. I'm also the Director of Content and Social Media at FlexJobs. So you've got three of us from FlexJobs to answer any questions that you might have about flexible job searching and all that fun stuff. The topics that we're going to cover today are what's available in the flexible job market, how to find flexible jobs, the holidays and your job search, and finally any questions that you might have about these topics. To ask a question, we ask that you use the chat box on GoToWebinar on your little control panel, and you can ask any questions sort of related to job searching and flexible jobs and all that fun stuff. And we'll try to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the webinar. And then after that, we're going to have a post-webinar Facebook chat where we're going to answer as many questions as possible there as well. So if we don't get to your question in the webinar, hopefully we'll get it on the Facebook chat. And you can join us there at facebook.com/flexjobs. And we'll have that up at the end of the webinar as well. I did have a couple questions about recording the webinar. And yes, we will be recording the webinar today and making it available for viewing within the next 24 hours or so. And we'll also be putting the PowerPoint slides out there for you to download as well. And we'll get those out. We'll be sending everyone an email. So you'll get an email within the next 24 hours or so that has a link to the PowerPoint slides and the webinar recording. So if you do have to leave early, or you know a friend who might benefit from this info, you can send it over to them. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to talk about the types of job flexibility that's out there. So Sarah, can you just give our listeners a brief overview about the main types of flexible jobs that are out there and some of the additional types of job flexibility that can be found in the job market today? Oh, Sarah, are you there? You might be on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. So sorry. I think I was. I apologize. Let's see. So, yes, the types of flexibility, there's a lot of different kind of questions about this because people tend to think of flexibility and they think of telecommuting as the main one. But really, there's telecommuting, there's flexible schedules, alternative schedules, part-time schedules, freelance contracts, and even kind of more fringe like job sharing and is another one that's very, very small component of the marketplace. Telecommuting, I think, is something that we'll talk more about this, but I think that for job seekers to be open to the fact that telecommuting is not just working from home 100% of the time in terms of the job types out there. There's lots of job opportunities that have levels of telecommuting, such as a couple days a week, or you train in person and then you telecommute afterwards, and also that a lot of telecommuting that has geographic components and requirements to it, such as you need to be in a certain city, state, or region, or country, even if you are working from home. And again, we can talk a little bit more about that, but those are kind of some of the areas to keep an open mind to, so that even if you are looking for a telecommuting job, that you look in your certain state as well. It's always a good strategy. And that any of these kinds of flexibility can be combined with others. So sometimes we'll have jobs that are telecommuting part-time with flexible schedule jobs, and that's fantastic. Others will just be a part-time job in your area, but because it's not a traditional or a full-time on-site 9-to-5 job, we include it. We essentially define any job as flexible, having some kind of element of flexibility if it falls outside the perimeter of a full-time traditional schedule on-site job. And as we have on the PowerPoint as well, compressed work weeks, so that's 4-day, oftentimes a 4-day work week, working 10-hour shift, 10 hours instead of shorter days, job sharing and alternate shifts. So, a schedule that for one person, a schedule that starts at 7 a.m. and ends at 3 could be fantastic, and it could really make a big difference because they can be home to pick up their kids at the end of the day or whatever it is, the reason they want flexibility. So all of these things are really kind of good to keep your mind open to. And let's see, in terms of who's working from home, this is something that has been really exciting for us. There's such a growth increase in all of these areas. There's been a 41% increase in work-from-home jobs since 2000, and that is expected to continue growing. 13.4 million people work from home full-time in the United States now, and that's up from about half that, a while ago. I mean, it's growing, and that does not generally include people who have home-based businesses, just to clarify. And then there's 20 to 30 million additional people who are working from home part-time, so that means a couple days a week. And that kind of lets you know that it's already out there, and these types of jobs absolutely do exist. They're typically buried by a lot of the other opportunities. It's also a stat that has more recently come out is that there's a lot of expectation that contingency jobs, or kind of what another term for all of these kind of flexible jobs or non-traditional full-time on-site employee jobs, are expected to be almost half of the entire job market by 2020, so in 8 years. So again, just a lot of growth in this area.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. That's a huge number to be half the job market by 2020, which is not that far away, even though it sounds like it is. Thank you very much for that overview.
Sure.
All right. And speaking of working from home, since that's one of the biggest job flexibility areas that people are looking for, one of the confusing aspects of the flexible job market is searching for all of the different language that employers use to talk about the same types of jobs, which are telecommuting jobs. So Jeremy, can you talk a little bit about the different phrases used to describe telecommuting jobs and if there are any differences between them?
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions that we get from our users that are either calling in to us or sending us emails. But employers will use these different terms that are at the top there: telecommute, remote, virtual, and home-based. They kind of use them interchangeably a lot of times. So kind of just have some guidelines for you to go by when you see this, what that generally is going to mean. And again, employers do use these interchangeably. So the first one, remote job, typically that's a job that can be done away from the office in a remote location. That could be a sales job where the person is on the road. Maybe they travel half the time. It could be from your home office. The other half could be from your home office. Or it could be from a remote office. So maybe the corporate headquarters is in California, you live in Michigan, that could be a remote office as well. But typically that's what you're going to see when something is labeled a remote job. That's kind of the parameters around that. Telecommute, which is what we see a lot on our site, this term, and we use it a lot as well, also can be known as teleworking. Same thing, used interchangeably, telecommute, teleworking. And again, this is, the basic premise behind this is you're trading in your commute for a home-based job. So instead of commuting, you're telecommuting, pretty simply put that way. And there are different levels of telecommute, as Sarah mentioned on the last slide. There may be a partial telecommute job, a job with some telecommuting, and again, that means you may be required to go into the office once a week, twice a week. Maybe it's once a month for a meeting, and the rest of your time is spent in your home-based office. So again, that can be, there's a lot of flexibility with telecommuting and kind of the way that employers use the term. So just kind of something to be aware of. And then the last couple that we see a lot of are virtual job and home-based job. Typically when you see this, most likely it's going to be 100% of the time you work from home. Usually not required to go to an office, but again, these terms are used interchangeably, and there could be a monthly meeting or a weekly meeting, or there could be training like Sarah had mentioned before, where you may train for a week or two at a corporate headquarters, and then you go home and you're working out of your home-based office 100% of the time. So, those are really the terms that we see. And what's really important also is to read the entire job description and just to make sure what the company is really offering. So if you do see one of these terms within that job description, they probably will say, and they should say, if there is time, required time to go to an office, if there are on-site meetings, or if you are going to work from home 100% of the time. That will typically be outlined when you do read through the full description. So that's really kind of the difference between the terms and what you should be looking for.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that's one of those things that even when I was searching for work from home jobs, I came across all the different variations of teleworking and remote work and all those fun things, and it can be a little bit confusing. And I know one thing that helped me, for anyone who's looking for a job that's completely 100% from home, I always liked looking, browsing each job description for that keyword of 100%. 100% virtual, 100% from home, or whatever the phrase that they're using might be, but that was kind of a really easy indicator for me to know that the job would be a fully work-from-home job. So just one little tip there.
Yeah,
and so now that we know sort of what is generally out there and the different types of language that's used to describe it, let's talk about the most common flexible job categories. I know people in our webinar, all the attendees come from a variety of different industries and backgrounds and career levels, so we can kind of talk about the most common flexible job categories, the industries that really support these types of jobs, and the education and experience levels. So Sarah, could you just talk a little bit about all of that fun information?
Sure. So there are, when I started the company, I wanted to intentionally highlight and find the flexible jobs in all different industries. Historically, there have been, certain industries where virtual work or telecommuting has been more, expected, I guess. Actually, sales is one big area because people often work remotely in sales. But things like data entry and virtual admin and things of that nature, which absolutely are great jobs, but there is a whole world of other job opportunities out there. And so we have found careers in over 50 different industries. If you ever look at our career category page, I think we have about 58 categories and a ton of subcategories. Everything ranging from medical and health, customer service, education and training. I think the other two top five are administrative and sales are our top 5 categories generally, but it really goes into so many different areas. And I think that one of my favorite parts about kind of what we do and working with our team of researchers who spend, I think it's like upwards of 80 hours a day looking for jobs, almost every day they're finding jobs that are surprising jobs that we wouldn't expect, or that are, whoa, we haven't seen this one before, or this is neat. It's just there's a lot of different opportunity out there. So, and as you're highlighting on the PowerPoint, this gives it kind of a list of some of the other popular categories that we have. And again, there are a lot more, but it's often surprising to people that there is such variety and depth with telecommuting and flexible jobs.
Yeah, there really is a huge variety out there. Like you said, we're kind of always surprised every day. And Jeremy, one of the questions that I know you get a lot as the Client Services Director is, what sort of education levels are required for these types of jobs? And are they all sort of degree-based jobs? Are there any jobs available for people who don't have a college degree but are still looking for a flexible job?
Yeah, great question. This one comes up daily as well from a lot of our users of the site. And the question is, or the answer is, they're all professional level positions. Some do require degrees. If you're looking at a medical and health category, education and training, research, computer IT, a lot of those positions, yeah, those are going to be companies looking for people with degrees, with a certain number of years of experience. But we do also see a lot of entry-level positions as well. So customer service, data entry, virtual admin, like Sarah mentioned. Those positions, not always a degree is required. Some experience probably. Maybe 6 months to a year is kind of what we see for the entry-level market, that kind of experience. But, a degree isn't always required. And it's such a variety. Again, entry-level through executive. We see a lot of jobs in that kind of middle management area. We've got project management up there as a category, writing and editing, again, education and training. Just a lot of good positions and a huge, huge variety. I talk to Flexers, people who use our site who have little experience just out of college. They're finding success along with people who have been in the workforce for 15, 20 years or more, and are just looking to kind of transition to something else. So big variety for either entry level up through the ranks.
Awesome. Thank you very much for answering that question. I know a lot of people probably have. All right. And so now that we sort of know the different types of jobs that are out there, the industries and careers that are hiring for flexible jobs, let's talk a little bit about how to actually find flexible jobs. So Sarah, aside from searching on FlexJobs, which we obviously think is a great way to find flexible jobs, how can job seekers go about finding job listings for telecommuting, flexible schedule, freelance, and part-time jobs that are professional level and legitimate?
Absolutely, and I think the legitimate word is a key component. So when you're looking for a flexible job, obviously you're looking in your specific area of training or skill or career level, or if you're switching careers, you're looking for something certain. You'll be looking in whatever kind of areas that you typically would, but you'll want to use different keywords to try to cultivate and bring up the flexible jobs. So some of the keywords we recommend using are telecommute and telecommuting, flex time, freelance, remote work, flexible schedule, part-time, independent contractor, kind of whatever of those you're looking for, obviously, but then tied with your, whether it's the job title that you're interested in, or if it's kind of, sometimes people will do more general categories or skills. If you're really good at Excel and you want to do something that ties with Excel, maybe you'll look for freelance Excel work or things of those kinds of nature. And then there are obviously a ton of job sites out there, probably millions, last count. And but I recommend, using the big boards to get started is certainly, I think, what most job seekers have, have some kind of Monster or Career Builder account. And it's always a good starting point. What we have found and what our researchers find pretty continually is that the bigger job boards have a hard time, and actually smaller job boards too, but they don't specifically have a way to label flexible jobs, any of these kinds of flexibility, except for part-time and sometimes freelance. They will have kind of a category set aside, but not always. And so when you're looking for these, you definitely want to take it with a grain of salt. And we definitely recommend, maybe checking those out, but also utilizing smaller niche sites that are in your industry or are specific to the type of work you want, either the flexibility or maybe your area, local regions, or things of that nature that can really help you fine-tune a little bit more and not just leave you kind of in a big, huge pool trying to look for the needle in the haystack. We also absolutely recommend researching companies. So if there are certain companies, a great way to start is making a list, doing some research and making a list of 25 companies you'd like to work for, whether it's because they're in they have jobs in your market or with your job title, they have good growth in that area. Maybe it's just a company you really like and you've always felt passionate about. Maybe you love outdoors and you want to work for an outdoor company and you're in marketing, so find a marketing job with an outdoor company. Whatever it is, make a dream list of what 25 companies would you love to work for, and then go directly to their websites. Research the types of jobs they have. We do have a free guide to best companies that offer flexibility, and we actually have gone through and compiled the research that our team has done over the last 6 years. And we have over 20,000 companies that we've researched, and we've had writers do handwritten descriptions, and I'll give you a little information. But beyond that, we actually provide all of the historical job data that we have had on the companies and what they've hired for. So you can actually go and see what jobs they've hired for in the past. So if you're looking for, I don't know, Bree, since you're hopping over there, which is great. If you want to look on, I don't know, United Health Group, they're the #1. They've hired the most volume historically of jobs with flexibility. And so if you go in there, it will actually show you all of the jobs they've hired for in the past. I believe you're logged in, so it might show the current jobs as well. But
yes, that's right. Yeah.
So if you're not a member, you will get all of the past jobs that they have hired for, which is a lot, and it will give you a lot of information on these companies on what they might be likely to hire for again. Even if they haven't hired in your area, it gives you an idea of what kinds of jobs they do, that they embrace and are committed to work flexibility. Beyond this, as you can see, we also have a lot of little icons there that are kind of the best of lists. We do a lot of that work for our users already, and we'll compile that. But if you're not a member and you just are looking, if you're a working mother, go look at Working Mothers 100 Best Companies for Working Moms. That's a great starting point. If you're in the retiree age, maybe you want to go look at AARP's Best Employers for Workers Over 50. Glassdoor is another fantastic resource. They have a number of different rankings, and they will actually give you information on companies from the employee level, so from the inside, employees reporting on how it was working there, how the interview process was, etc. We actually are partnered with Glassdoor as well, and so we provide this for on a number of our company pages for our users and for non-members as well. So do research. You want to find companies that you really are interested in, and especially those that have in the past shown that they're dedicated to work flexibility is really a great starting point. And then finally, use your network. There's a lot of different techniques we can use. I think these are the best three kind of overall categories, but using your network. Talk to your friends and family. Check on LinkedIn. You know, some people certainly, there are ways to let your friends know through Facebook or other social media outlets that you're looking for a job. Talk to people. Go to, you know, events that are local that maybe are with companies or in your industries, and then ask them if you know of any companies that hire for telecommuters or offer flexible schedules or whatever you're looking for. So these are three really great things to utilize. And if you're not utilizing them already, you know, I really encourage job seekers to make a to-do list of things for them to kind of stay focused and have stepping stone accomplishments along the way that you can, you know, yes, today I've researched 3 companies I'd love to work for. Yes, I've talked to 3 people about, or I've reached out to new people on LinkedIn or whatever it is. So that's this is a this could be a very long conversation. So that's kind of as quick as I can condense it.
Thank you for the brief overview. I think it's a very helpful way to get started for sure. All right, and so along with searching for flexible jobs comes all of this wonderful job search scams that we just can't seem to get away from. These are things that you may have found in your email spam box in the morning, you know, make $1,000 from your pajamas at home, all those obvious scams that are out there. But then there are some not so obvious scams as well. So Jeremy, because job search scams are abundant in the flexible job niche, and the FlexJobs team spends every day sorting through these job listings to eliminate scams and find only the legitimate jobs. Can you just tell us how job seekers can stay safe in their own job search and spot scams for themselves?
Yeah, thanks, Bree, for sure. This is, again, a huge thing that FlexJobs does for our users is, you know, weeding out, finding these scams and weeding them out, and you know, not posting any jobs that have any of these kind of commonalities. So really the first thing to think about is the number of scams that are out there. What we have found is that only 1 in 60 to 70 flexible job listings is legitimate. So if you kind of, you know, attack your job search with that kind of thinking, that does help. So it's, you know, it's a really small number of legitimate jobs. When you look at the full, you know, list of jobs that are there, you know, you want to drill down and find what is the legitimate job out of, you know, that 60 to 70, you know, finding that one. So a few things to look for when you're looking at a job listing. That's kind of got the top 5 here of things that you want to kind of pay attention to and see if they're there. But number 1 is the company name listed. That's big. That's very, very important, because any job listing you're going to respond to, if the company name is listed, you can do research on the company. You can see if it's the type of company you're interested in. And again, it's something to look for, making sure that the company is listed in the job listing. Secondly, is the job asking you to invest, or is the posting asking for an investment or for you to pay to get the job? Again, this is a huge red flag. A legitimate job is not going to ask you to invest or to pay to get the job. Typically, if you see that, it's definitely a red flag, and I would stop right there. You know, I wouldn't go any further with spending any time with that job listing, because it's most likely going to be a scam and to stay away. Thirdly, again, the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Again, like Bree mentioned, make $1,000 a day, you know, working from home, you know, probably not legit. Is it the job listing really vague and hard to understand? Again, you know, a legitimate employer wants their job listing to be clear. They want to get qualified candidates. They don't want to bring in 1,000 people who don't know what the job's about. So a legitimate employer is going to be clear. They're going to be to the point. This is what's required. This is what you need as experience. If it's vague and hard to understand, again, probably a red flag. Next, job listings that ask for personal information like a social security number, bank account numbers, again, red flag. A company does not need to know that. They shouldn't ask that in a job posting. And again, that's not the place for it. So if you see that, again, I would go the other way and not respond. Another thing we also see, job listings that have a lot of exclamation points, dollar signs, everything in bold, everything in caps, again, really points to a scam, not a legitimate opportunity. A legitimate company is not going to do that. Again, a legitimate company wants to give you the details of the job. They want to find out if you're qualified. They're not going to have all these bells and whistles on a job posting. So again, things to stay away from. When you're searching, say if you find a job listing, there's a company name in it, a great way to search that company, find out information quickly about that company is to do a search, put in the company name, also put in the word complaint or scam, and then do a search and see what comes up. If there's complaints against the company with, say, the Better Business Bureau, that'll come up. If they've been posted on any number of the websites out there that kind of monitor, scam companies and scammy jobs going on, that'll come up. You can read about them and see if it's a company to stay away from. So that's a really easy, quick way to go to find out about a company that you may not know about. Next, and again, I hear about this almost every day from users and just people calling in to ask questions. People getting unsolicited job offers via LinkedIn or email. Again, red flag. Typically job offers don't pop out of the blue into your LinkedIn account or into your email of someone offering you something that you haven't investigated, that you haven't interviewed for. And again, that's kind of a light bulb should go off that that's a scam. Look into it further. And probably, I would stay away from it. Don't respond because it's probably not legitimate. When you're searching, there's some good keywords to use and some bad keywords. The good keywords to use, again, we talked about those a little bit: telework, telecommute, remote work, flexible schedule. These are all words that legitimate employers use and use frequently in their job postings. Bad words, which is kind of unfortunate, but scammers have really grabbed onto these words, are work from home and work at home. Just because they're the most descriptive probably, but a lot of the times those words are associated with scams. So you really want to be careful when you say work from home opportunity, work at home opportunity. You just want to be a little wary and do your research, kind of the other things we talked about when you're using those keywords to search.
Awesome. Thanks for the overview. And I have some specific ones to watch out for. These are just some newer ones that we've seen out there, just to keep your eyes and ears open. Scammers using fake URLs, pretending to be large, well-known companies. This is a way to get job seekers to be very comfortable with you quickly, is to say, oh, I'm from GE Healthcare, or I'm from CNBC, and a job seeker goes, oh, well, that's a well-known company. This wouldn't be a scam. But unfortunately, scammers are very good at copying websites and making everything look very legitimate. So one thing that you'll want to do is look at the URL that's given and just make sure that it is really going to that company's website. So this one looks like it's going to CNBC.com, but then you see this -index.in, and that's a dead giveaway that it's not going to CNBC.com. It's actually going to this this address here. So a way to figure out if you're looking at a scam page or a real page is to open up a new web browser and do a search for the company that it's proclaiming to be, so GE Healthcare and jobs. And that'll pull up their GE Healthcare real jobs page, and then you can go and look and see if the job is actually listed on that company's website. Another one is scammers using instant messaging to communicate with job seekers. This one came up recently where a job seeker was invited to do a job interview over Instant Messenger, and they downloaded Yahoo Instant Messenger, and they went back and forth with a recruiter for a little bit, and very quickly into the job interview, they were offered the job, which is a big red flag, I should say. If somebody is offering you a job that quickly over an instant messaging job interview, the chances are very likely that it's a scam. Again, they pretend to be a large company, and then they ask for money after they offer you the job. They ask to wire money via Western Union. And so that's another big red flag, any money wiring, money transfers, anything like that. Another one was scammers using well-known company names to get personal banking info. So again, this draws job seekers in because these names are so well-known and they feel more comfortable with them. And then they require job seekers to purchase a work-from-home kit for $4, and then they continue to charge the job seekers credit cards or bank accounts an additional $75 a month for no reason at all. And so if you ever do see something that says you can buy a work-from-home kit that will help you get a work-from-home job, those are always scams. There's no magical kit that will help you get a job to work from home. Most, telecommuting jobs are jobs that would also be found in an office environment, but are just transferred to be done at home. So don't fall for any kits that are out there. And then another one is scammers hiring mystery shoppers for wire fraud. Mystery shopping is one of those job categories where there are some legitimate jobs and there are a lot of scams. And again, this involves check cashing and wiring money via Western Union. So there's your red flag once again, is that money wiring and the use of Western Union to do so. And then finally, scammers are prowling LinkedIn, offering too good to be true jobs. I can only say that once and very slowly. And this is something that Jeremy talked about before, where you're receiving an unsolicited job offer through your LinkedIn profile. This is a company usually that you've never heard of. They offer you a job that's very vague, that has to do with cold calling, and then they require job seekers to urgently sign up. They say, if you want the job, you have to sign up and start working tomorrow. Then you're not able to give your current company 2 weeks of notice, and it just sort of puts that urgency into you that, oh, this sounds like a really good job. I should really jump on it without thinking it through. And that's what they want. That's what they want job seekers, is to sort of abandon those urges that you have to think it through, to do some research. So I would, tell everybody to slow down, do your research, and don't accept anything that's offered to you through LinkedIn or email without doing a lot of research on it first to make sure that it's legitimate. So those are just some of the most recent bigger scams out there to be aware of. And now that we know about all that stuff, it's time to talk about how you actually apply. So you've done all your research, you've found a legitimate job, and you want to send in your resume and cover letter. So Sarah, as somebody who's hired a lot of telecommuting and freelance workers, what are some of the things that flexible job seekers can do to make sure they've got excellent resumes and cover letters for their applications?
Well, there are, obviously there are a lot of, everyone here has probably applied for jobs, so you know how to apply for jobs generally. It's about removing the risky behavior. So almost half of job seekers nowadays do include in their application some fundamental error that they don't realize, they might not realize, or they haven't thought through, or they're just, it's kind of part of your MO or whatever is happening, but basically it gets your resume tossed out from pretty much step one. And some of these are really obvious, but I still can't tell you how many people do them. It's crazy. The first one is always include a cover letter. Gone are the days of just sending in a resume and expecting it to be really kind of considered equally as any other application. Always include a cover letter. With flexible jobs particularly, there's a little bit more room for differentiation, I think. So you want to always describe why you're applying and why you're qualified, first of all, but include some of the passion. Why are you really interested in that company? Kind of set yourself aside, especially if this is for a telecommuting job. That passion can really correlate to a better employee versus somebody who might have the skills but doesn't really feel particularly excited about the company. You want to really tell the company why you're interested in their company, why you think you do a great job at this particular job, and why you're better, why they should consider you over other candidates. I think that has absolutely played into my hiring in every single job that we do. Because when you get 500 applications with cover letters, the cover letters that are blah, you can see through immediately. The cover letters that are really form, that they are using for every single job, you can see through also. And you identify that the job seeker isn't really caring so much about your job to actually take the time to write you why they want that job specifically. So you really want to take that time, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes, it's well worth taking that time over using that time to just blanket apply to other jobs in that time frame. Because, again, when you see 500 cover letters, you can see the ones that stand out very quickly. And you want to be one of those ones that stand out because so many of the others don't. So yeah, as listed here, 38% in some studies of applicants are eliminated because they don't include a cover letter. And I can guarantee you a lot more are eliminated pretty early because they're really blah cover letters. The second thing is really tailoring your resume and your cover letter for every job. So specifically with flexibility, you want to include and highlight any previous experience of telecommuting or working with flexible hours or whatever type of flexibility you're looking for. In fact, I've actually seen summaries of qualifications on resumes saying jobs that I've telecommuted in, essentially. So telecommuting experience, and then people have listed the jobs that they've actually had by that, which right up front is fantastic. And I'll admit that I didn't think of this actually until a job seeker had submitted an application that way. And it was so clear when they did it, and it was so excellent. And I will admit that one of those two people got hired in one of our previous rounds of hiring. It was just a great strategy to really bring it to the top. If you haven't had experience or not enough to actually have a section for it, highlighting that you have a well-equipped home office, a quiet place to work and to focus from, that you're very dedicated and you're good at managing your time, self-motivated, that you're really good at communication, things of that nature. You want to highlight skills that would serve you well in a telecommuting role. A lot of employers in telecommuting stuff, they can't ask about whether you have a family or what your kind of situation is. Do you have kids who are going to be screaming in the background? That kind of thing. It's not legal from an HR law standpoint. But when you volunteer the information of I have a quiet, dedicated home office, or I have a quiet space to work in and where I can focus, and there is no distraction, that kind of thing really does, again, set yourself up to explain to the employer that you understand what this is going to take. So that hopefully will help a little bit. And then, yeah, use job description, use any keywords that they're looking for. This is more, I think, with the resume management systems that scan keywords, and this has gotten very elaborate. And I think it's important to pay attention to. So if somebody's looking for a certain, well, let's see, take a step back. If they're looking for a marketing assistant, and you don't mention the word marketing anywhere in your resume or cover letter, you're going to be out immediately, whether it's an automated scan system or not. So you want to really kind of customize and include some of the words that are in the job posting that seem very important, and don't go overboard. Use it within reason, but that's a great guide for kind of what they're looking for. And then the final thing, and this is 100% so easy, and everyone probably has heard this a zillion times, but proofread. Have at least one or two people that you trust, and hopefully who are good writers, to really look at your resume. I cannot tell you, so in this it says over 10% of applicants are eliminated for simple grammar and spelling errors. In my experience, it's higher. And especially when we're hiring for writers and researchers, writers or editors, you're hiring for this job. And again, I can't believe how many errors there are. And this goes not just for the resume, which oftentimes people have friends review that, but also for the cover letter. The cover letter is the first thing employers will often read, so that's your first impression. You want to come across as professional. Just don't skip that one. So those are the top ones, I would say.
Awesome, thank you. And I know we have a bunch of questions coming in for resumes and cover letters and that sort of thing, so we'll definitely get to those in just one more slide when we open it up to questions. And just a reminder for all of our attendees, if you do have a question about anything that we've talked about so far, or anything that's related to your flexible job search, feel free to put that in the chat or question box on your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be answering as many of those as possible in just a couple minutes. So we have one more little topic to get through, and because it's the holiday season, hiring does take a bit of a turn during the holidays. So since we're right in the middle of everything, Sarah, can you tell us how people should continue their job search as hiring slows down? There aren't quite as many jobs to apply to, and that sort of thing. So how can they kind of twist their job search a little bit to keep it going? And are there any very flexible part-time jobs that people can consider if they're looking for ways to make extra money during the holidays?
Absolutely. So yeah, traditionally, in terms of the general job market, there's a big drop that starts in November and kind of carries into December, and then jumps right back in full force in January. So January is usually the most exciting hiring time, both for employers and for job seekers. the opposite, the one exception to that is seasonal hiring. There is a lot of seasonal and holiday jobs that get hired for and are fantastic opportunities to get feet in the door with companies. I do want to say I think a lot of job seekers tend to overlook these as legitimate opportunities. But within any competitive job market, whatever you can do to get your foot in the door with a company, whether it's a job that's related or that you really feel super excited about in terms of your career path or what, it is an opportunity to change from an outside hire to an inside hire. So if there's another job within that company down the line, or perhaps that one job can convert into a full-time job, it gets you in, and it gives you contacts, and it gives you an opportunity to build your resume and maybe utilize your current skills and keep them sharp, or learn new skills, all of that. So don't underestimate seasonal jobs. But in the meantime, if you haven't found anything that you're really interested in, or with all the holiday busyness you're not ready to commit to that or want to commit to that, you can use the time to research companies, as we've talked about. Holiday parties are a great place to network, so feel free, go for it. Mention to everyone, to friends as appropriate, or people you meet, that you're looking for work, or that you're looking for certain kinds of jobs, or all of that stuff. Use your networking skills. Reconnect with contacts also. It's a great way to send out either email holiday cards or holiday cards in general, and that can be strategic. Certainly you want to do it for the personal people in your life, in many cases, but you can also do it for business contacts. Sending a nice email card is, there's a company, Paperless Post, and there's tons of different online e-card services that are really inexpensive and can make that contact, and just, it's nice to make that contact. And then finally, organizing yourself for your job search for the new year, kind of that checklist of things that you want to be doing, either currently and moving forward. Having a game plan is always helpful. We have a lot of information on our blog about game plans and checklists and things like that that you can look at as well if you're kind of curious about what that might mean. And there are if you are looking for some seasonal jobs or are open to that, we've found some really interesting low commitment jobs that I'm still surprised that some of these exist. One of them would be a personal historian. That's a job that we've come across, and we have actually an employer who hires for that very regularly, and it's something that is not a whole lot of time commitment, pays very well by the hour. It's not a reliable hour job. It is something that can ebb and flow, but it's a great way to have some extra income. Help Me is a company that hires a lot. Help Me experts. So if you're an expert in any field, they're often hiring really across the board in kind of whole different tons of different fields. Internet search assessor, online substitute teachers, customer service, dog walking, online tutoring, interpreter, writing and editing. There's just so many different areas. So those are, to give you an idea of the ones that you might not think of, or at least some of those. So hopefully that'll help a bit. And we have some great information on our blog in this area as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and for those low commitment types of jobs, just to note that they're not only seasonal, they are sort of being hired year-round. So if you do get to a point in the next year or so where you're thinking, I could use a little bit of extra income, there are plenty of very part-time opportunities out there, depending on your interests and skills to look at. So those are just to give you some ideas for that. All right, we've arrived at question time. Thank you to Sarah and Jeremy for sharing your expertise, and now we're going to open it up to questions from our attendees to see if we can squeeze a little bit more expertise out of you guys.
Yeah, so, Bree, if it's okay, let's keep this a little bit more loose in terms of the ending time, and if we can try to answer the more vague questions that can apply to everyone, kind of up front, and then if people want to hang on, we can try to get through some more of the questions for another 10, 15 minutes after or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so, and for anybody who does need to leave at the top of the hour, we will be recording this. We have been recording the whole thing, so we'll make that available to you in the next 24 hours so you don't miss anything. And actually, we had an attendee who had a great idea, is to have an FAQ compiled after this. So I'll be taking all of the questions that we've received and compiling the answers that we're giving, and I'll include those on the same blog post that I'll put out tomorrow with the PowerPoint slides and the video recording of the webinar. So you'll be able to get everything in one nice, neat little package. Great idea, yeah. we like to give as much info as possible to people. So here's a question, maybe for Jeremy. You've probably gotten this a lot from FlexJobs members. But in the past, independent contractor or freelancer was a way that companies could reduce their costs by not paying benefits. So they would hire somebody who's sort of a temporary freelance worker for particular projects. Are today's flexible jobs in general paying living wages or including any benefits? What are your thoughts on that as far as the idea that flexible jobs maybe pay less or don't include benefits at all?
Yeah, great question, and it it really depends on the employer and the job. I mean, we see both. We do see a lot of freelance and contract positions. A lot of times being a 1099 employee, so there are no benefits with that kind of position. You're responsible for your own taxes, those kind of things. But we do see a number of full-time jobs that are what a W-2 employee job, where the company is offering benefits, health, medical, vacation, just like your traditional jobs. So we do see those as well. And we do see some part-time jobs that have benefits as well. Again, it can be, depending on, I guess, what the laws and rules are, but, working so many hours, even if it's a part-time status, still may entitle you to benefits. And again, that's up to each individual company that's posting the job. But we definitely do see a good mix of both. And again, a lot of those full-time jobs do include the benefits package that you would see at a traditional employer, in-house employer.
Great, thanks. And just as a personal anecdote, I've held 2 full-time work-from-home positions, and I had one that paid for full benefits, just like you would get in a regular sort of traditional job, and I had one that didn't. And both of them worked for me just fine. It just depends on your own situation, but I do know that the benefits ones are out there if that's something that you need and are looking for. So. All right, thanks, Jeremy. And back to resumes and cover letters. I think this is one that a lot of job seekers struggle with for sure. So let's see. The question is, I completely understand the need for unique cover letters, but I'm also told to get out lots and lots of applications. I haven't been able to manage to do both. So how can you juggle the need to write unique cover letters with the need to apply to a lot of jobs?
Ooh, can I take that one?
Mm-hmm.
So I would question who's told you to get tons of applications out. I think that there is a balance, and that's a great. You want to be applying and being active, but I absolutely would focus on quality over quantity. If you spend a half hour applying to each job and make sure it's a job that you really are qualified for. Interested in, really genuinely interested in the company, that job application means more than 100. You will have so much more chance to get that job than 100 others if you just are, form lettering it and tossing them out real quickly. So, I mean, as a goal, I would say whatever average you've been sending out, if you've been, getting 50 out a day, maybe you just focus on 5. Every day, and just try to find those really good ones, the ones that, again, you're really interested in. You're really interested in the company. You feel excited when you read that listing. And then, because that excitement will translate into your cover letter. And then if you have a great cover letter and a really solid resume with good skills and good qualifications to back it up, again, that puts you so much closer to the top of the pile, if not at the top of the pile, versus the ones that are kind of just a little less, that puts you in the middle of the pile. The middle of the pile these days is a huge portion, a lot of competition. You want to do whatever you can to get to the top. So I would really recommend focusing on quality over quantity.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that for sure. I know I've spoken to a lot of recruiters who say they can tell right off the bat when they're receiving an application that hasn't been tailored and that the job seeker hasn't taken the time to really tell them anything about themselves or why they are into that particular job. And most recruiters just put those in the maybe or the no piles, which is not a place you want to be. So I would definitely take more time, send out fewer applications, but make them more tailored and to jobs that you are really genuinely interested in for sure. So I second that wholeheartedly. And then another question about cover letters, which I think this is a confusing point that a lot of job seekers face, is how long should your cover letter be typically? You don't want to be writing an encyclopedia, but you want to make sure that you get all the important information in there. And then how do you actually send that to an employer? Do you attach it to an email? Is it the body of the email? What do you guys suggest?
I also, Jeremy, if you don't mind my tackling that just from the hiring that we've done more recently, personally, I prefer it as an inline copy, so not as an attachment. because an attachment is just another step. Yes, it might be a little more nicely formatted, but with HTML emails nowadays, it can be, you can make it look pretty nice in almost any email editor. I feel that that extra step is just something that I will do generally when I'm really taking the time to do my due diligence, but it makes it quicker, more welcoming, right up front. There's really no need for you attach two separate attachments. I would say the resume should always be an attachment because it's more critical to preserve the formatting, because it could be open in a different platform that would look really funny otherwise. So using a simple Word document or PDF is by far the norm. But the cover letter I prefer inline, and I don't think it should be more than a page. I have absolutely gotten 2-pagers. I've even gotten a couple 3-pagers, and I kind of dread reading those. I mean, I bet it has. I mean, they have some really interesting information, but to show an employer that you value their time and that you can critically think and write well enough to put the important information in a somewhat more condensed fashion that, again, respects the process that they're going through is really helpful. So I would say 1 page is pretty much the limit for me. I do read them, but again, you kind of zone out. I mean, you have to think of what the HR person or the hiring manager is looking at. 500 of these in many cases, if not more. So the shorter and more straightforward, but with passion, that you can make it, it makes it more interesting. It makes it more fun to read. It makes it, wow, this person really stands out. Great. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's very clear. Yeah, I know in the past I've definitely wondered, where do I actually put this cover letter? Do I write a separate email that has the information that says attached as a cover letter, or do I just put it in the email? So I think that's a really good way to do it. It puts it right out there in front of the employer and makes it easier for them to read. And so, Jeremy, we have a question for you that I'm sure you hear a lot. As a FlexJob member, have you found that there is great success in posting a job seeker's resume to FlexJob? So when a job seeker has their account, they post their resume or their profile. And do you find that job seekers have success in posting that there and getting employers to respond to that? And also, do companies view the FlexJobs test scores of job seekers? We have those different skills tests available for FlexJobs members. And do employers take a look at those?
Yeah, great question. And everybody we talk to, we recommend and encourage them to set up a profile on FlexJobs and to post their resume, because that's just another way, it's a very simple way that you can be seen on our site. So once you become a FlexJobs member, you have the ability to create a profile and then to post your resume to the site. And we do have employers who will search our database, because employers who are approved to use FlexJobs have the ability to go through and look at resumes and contact folks that way. And it happens every day. I do see when employers are contacting our job seekers, and they are doing it. They are active. Not every employer, but a lot of employers do it. They like to handpick who they're going to talk to, who they're going to interview, so it does happen. And also the test scores. We do have some employers that when they post a job, they will ask candidates to take a skills test that we have on our site. And of course, those employers do, they are really interested in looking at the test scores. So they're an important part. If you take a test, a skills test that's on the site, it will put your score on your profile. There are parameters around that. So if you score, I think it's below a 70% on a skills test, that will not show to an employer. If it's a score of 70 or greater, that will show to an employer. You also have the ability to retake skills tests. After 24 hours, you can take the same test again and see if you can do better. And you can also choose to remove skills tests if you're just kind of taking it to see what you know, but you don't necessarily want it on your profile. You can take the test, and then you can remove that score from your profile. So, I think it's a great tool. It's included in your membership, and it's just another way to highlight, your skills and what you know, and have it there for the employer to see. So I think it's good information to have.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think that's helpful. And I'm looking at our list of questions, and we do have several questions about the length of a resume. How many pages do you think a resume should be? Is there a certain length people should aim for? 1 page, 2 pages, more than 2 pages? What's your sense of that?
I'll take that one again if you don't mind. The I would say 2-page max. I absolutely get resumes from time to time that are 3 pages, 4 pages. It does not need to be that long. And again, it's kind of putting yourself in the position of the hiring employer that you need to give them the most related information for the job to make their decision. You don't need to give them everything. And you can always make a note that you have additional, you have 10 additional entries or what have you. If you have been in the job market and have had numerous different careers, or you have for whatever reason a very long work history, and especially if you're a writer or something of that nature where it tends to be more freelance and you have a whole lot of different things, there are different ways to format that and kind of get them in either categories or some way to kind of present it that it doesn't have to get that long. It should be a maximum of 2 pages. 1 page is fine, and I think historically, and when you're younger and you're perhaps earlier in your career, if you've had a short, you haven't switched companies much or something of that nature, then it's fine. And 1 is great. I mean, probably ideal, but 2 it's totally acceptable. 3, it's too long. It's getting too long.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a really good guide for people for sure. Thank you. And there are a number of questions out here from older job seekers, either nearing retirement, past retirement, looking for additional work to stay in the workforce, either because they want to or have to, which we know is a growing population for sure. So a couple of the questions have to do with ageism and how you can kind of not necessarily hide it from employers, but how you can keep your job search applications fresh and maybe young, for lack of a better word, but sort of not have employers focus on your age, which can be seen as a negative in the job market, and focus more on your skills and your qualifications. So do you have any particular tips for maybe resumes or cover letters or in your FlexJobs profile for kind of focusing less on age and more on experience and skills and that sort of thing?
And Bree, you might have some good ideas on this too. I mean, I think that generally, to speak candidly, from a hiring perspective, I can kind of tell when somebody's trying to hide their age, because you either don't include the years you graduated or things of that nature, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Those kinds of tactics, though, are not transparent, just so that you realize that as well. So I think that as opposed to trying to kind of hide things, I just would focus on bringing more related current skills to the top, and your passion to the top, because again, that reads very, very well, and it doesn't matter what age you are in terms of the passion and the passion for the job in the company. The skills, skills staying current, I think, is the biggest one, especially in a day and age where there is so much technology. Really highlighting that you're current on that stuff, whether it's the programs that are expected in your particular role, and that the software programs or what have you. Those will vary obviously for any different career, but staying current in those. Similarly, if you are applying for a telecommuting job or a job where you'll be working from home, again, highlighting that you have all the current, you have a good setup, but you also are current in the technology, including your kind of technology skills on your resume. I think some people do that, some people don't. I think that's a good thing to do in that case. Again, make sure you're current. And I just focus on those skills and those. I could go into a number of different resume strengths areas, but that are not necessarily flexible specific. But highlighting those tangible metrics of accomplishments. If you've been in the workforce for a long time, you probably have had some pretty great accomplishments, hopefully, or notable ones. And those highlighting that because you can compete very well in accomplishments and skills and knowing what it takes to help a company and move it forward. So highlight those kinds of things, and that will give you an edge in many ways over a younger candidate who maybe doesn't have that experience.
Yep. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And one thing that another job seeker asked about that was related is using a particular email program to put on your resume. So whereas some people might have an email through their internet provider like Bell South or AT&T, should you use that email or should you set up something that's sort of current and more recognizable like Gmail? And I know from working with job seekers at a college that I used to work for, working with alumni and older job seekers, I think using a Gmail account or something similar to that, where it's sort of a more newer, more modern type of email is a really good way just to even signal to employers, almost subconsciously, if you want to put it that way, that you are up to date on current technology, that you are interested in trying new things. You know, the more, like Sarah said, the more you can put that out there, that you're passionate, that you're still interested in learning, that you are up to date with new technology, I think the more that you can add that to your resume, the better. So I would definitely recommend, even for your own edification or experience, skill building, is to, open a Gmail account. They're free. And along with that, maybe play around a little bit with Google Docs and all the interesting things that come with Gmail, just to stay a little bit current with those areas, even though it's a small thing and the requirements for the job might not say that anything like that is necessary. I do think that that is a small, easy way to signal to an employer that you're current, that you aren't afraid of new technology, and I think those are the stereotypical things that employers think about when hiring older workers, whether they're true or not. You know, I know very few older workers who are, fearful of new technology, but for whatever reason, employers get that stigma. So, I think any little things you can do like that that's easy and free, which Gmail is a good way to just signal that to employers.
And Bree, I'm actually, on that note, it's a great suggestion. And, I mean, I have to admit that when I see my first company I started, it was an employment company back in '95, so we started when Monster did, and I still see emails from that era, and sometimes it's really surprising. Juno way back when was one, or even AOL. I mean, I know AOL is somewhat current, but it's definitely not cutting edge or stand out that way. So if you have an AOL account, please change it. Get something more current. And similarly, LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn. I think one of the best advantages that LinkedIn offers, especially for experienced workers, is that you are likely to have a bigger network of contacts who are higher up in their careers and more kind of compelling from a Rolodex standpoint, and that you have more experience, that you can highlight that really, really well on LinkedIn. It's a huge advantage tool for experienced workers. So that would be my one other, to really utilize and include your LinkedIn link on your resume. That's pretty commonplace now, but just to say it, include your LinkedIn profile, work on fleshing that out, making contacts, building it out. It is so worthwhile for a job seeker.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. LinkedIn is a great resource. And then we do have a question about sort of finding companies that are known for hiring particular groups. So this particular question is about companies that are hiring specifically age 60-plus workers or 50-plus workers. Also, as we talked about before, there are some companies that are known for hiring working mothers or working parents. So how can you go about finding those types of companies? Are there any search methods that you recommend to find lists of companies that hire for particular groups?
I would also recommend on that front utilizing the list that exists. So there are, going to our website, again, we kind of work really hard to create, we call them accolades, so that companies that have won or been noticed for some type of motivated hiring in certain areas. So yes, there's Working Mother 100, there's Diversity 50, there's all kinds of different ones. And to get an idea, on our company guide, our free company guide, one of the things you can search by is by the Fortune 500, Forbes Global 2000, or other accolades. And the other accolades, there's a drop down for that, and then the other accolades, it will actually show you companies that have a whole bunch of different ones, and that's to give you an idea of what exists. There's the Human Rights Campaign for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. There's Newsweek Green. So if you're really environmentally friendly and you really believe in that, that might be a great starting point. There's the AARP Best 50, and they do these every year, and they often have other variations as well. There's military style, so there's military friendly, a top 100 military friendly by GI Jobs that they compile, I believe, every year. There are countless of these. They're best companies by almost, I don't know if every state. But with Pennsylvania, New York, Texas, Florida, California, Oregon, all of these different lists. So utilize those. I mean, is a great way to kind of find, if you have niches that you feel strongly about, then that's a great starting point.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really good, excuse me, really good suggestions. And then Jeremy, for you, we'll draw you back into the conversation here. Someone's asking, can you please recap on freelance? Does a freelance position need to be available to work on site, and what are some other names to describe freelance jobs?
Oh, good question. Freelance, yeah, I mean, freelance is an interesting one, and we've kind of gone around with the description of freelance before on FlexJobs, and it can mean working on site, it can mean working remotely, telecommuting, working from home. That's one that you really, I guess, need to delve into the job description and find out what the employer means by freelance. It could be a project. It could be a certain amount of time. Again, and it may or may not be off-site. It just really depends on the employer, what they're looking for. Is it project-based? Is it time-based? Can you work remotely? Or is it on-site? And again, that should be explained in the job description. Or that's always a fair question to ask the employer, is what their definition of freelance is and what what that would entail.
Great, perfect. And I'm having a question from a fellow career counselor here. She says, as a career counselor, I often discourage clients from using job boards for job searching, but instead go directly to the company sites. How are you, as FlexJobs, able to facilitate successful job searches? So what is it about FlexJobs that helps people find jobs that other job boards maybe don't offer?
I'll take that one to start off, and then if you guys have anything to add. So you're exactly right. I think a lot of job boards are a waste of time, to be candid. Having been in the online job market since '95 and having seen the pros and cons that technology has brought to the job search experience, there are definitely a lot of pros, but there are a lot of cons. And what we have tried to do is to remove the cons and focus on improving the actual job search experience for job seekers. So essentially, we aim to save them time in finding the qualified hand-screened jobs that a lot easier. So for the work-from-home market particularly, there's around 60 to 70 scams for every one real job. So our concept is that if we find those jobs for you and we compile them and make them very easy for you, you're saving all that time of going through the other 61 to 70 jobs. We're making it that much easier to find the job. We confirm it's legitimate for you, and then you can spend that time applying. And if you can save that time, you'll ultimately find a job faster, hopefully. When the way our site works as well is that we aggregate jobs, so we go out and research as if we're job seekers, and we find these jobs, and then we research the companies to make sure that the jobs are legitimate and that the companies have some level of that they're more professionally oriented, and that they have some kind of work flexibility, which again, a lot of job boards, especially if you're looking for work flexibility, it's pretty difficult to identify and find those in any easy fashion. So we kind of take all of those needle in the haystack jobs, compile them for you, and we'll take you to the place that the employer has most explicitly answered that shown that they want to receive jobs. So ideally, the employer has the job on their website, and we will direct the job seeker to that company's website. After we've given them some preliminary information on the job, we've shown them any accolades they've won. We've given them the URL very easily to get to that employer's page if it's hard to find, which unfortunately sometimes it is. So we let the job seeker kind of do that screening process on our site, and then if they, oh, this job really does sound interesting, okay, then we'll give them the most direct place to go there. So we try to streamline the process and just make it a lot more easy, less frustrating, less stressful, and faster. If an employer does not have a job listed on their company website, which you probably, unfortunately, is common, all too common and very frustrating, we will take them to the most kind of obvious and clear and easy job posting that they've put out there. So whether it's on Monster, a niche industry board, what have you, we'll try to find the best one where the employer has kind of taken the action to post it, where they are soliciting resumes. So I hope that helps to answer. We also try to support the job seeker in other ways, specifically with our free expert skills test, each of which generally costs about $14.95 to take if you were to do it as a job seeker independently, whereas you can take up to 80 job expert skills tests on our site for free and unlimitedly. So some really nice value there. And then we also have member savings section where we've gone out and worked to negotiate discounts for our users that support work-life balance in either our resume, discounts on resume help services or discounts on GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar, actually things like that if you're a freelancer and you want that type of thing. But we have over 50 different discounts: Dell Computer, Sam's Club, Moo.com, which is great for business cards and other printing things, a whole bunch of different things that can kind of support the job search experience as well as a work-life balance kind of goal. So I hope that helps a little bit. Do you guys have anything to add?
No, that's really good summary. Yep, great summary.
I
great
wanted
summary
to also say that, sorry, Jeremy, I'll be really quick. Yeah, I just wanted to say that also one of our biggest strengths as a job search board is that we are very specific in the types of jobs that we are posting. So for anybody who's looking for a telecommuting job or a freelance job, part-time job, flexible schedule job, any combination of those things, there are very few job boards to go to that offer those jobs in one place. A lot of it, like Sarah said, is spending hours culling through some of the larger boards or the more well-known boards looking for those very particular types of jobs. So for job seekers who know that they need or want a more flexible job, I think, a niche board like ourselves, we are better able to provide an easier, like Sarah said, easier, faster, safer, more secure job search for those particular types of jobs. So I think we do really have sort of that unique offering there too. And I know when I was searching for a flexible job, not necessarily applying to FlexJobs to work for them, although I did later and wound up doing that, but I found FlexJobs to be incredibly helpful. And as a former college career advisor, I've seen a lot of job boards out there, and there are some good ones and there are some really bad ones. And so I'm glad to now work for one of the good ones. So that's my 2 cents.
Perfect. No, you guys covered it. That was my points exactly. So yep, no, great job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy, didn't mean to steal your point.
The final thing that I think that is important for, we know that 99% of the job boards out there are free. The fact that we're not certainly puts us swimming upstream in a lot of ways. And the only reason we do it is because it's, well, to summarize, I could get into a big discussion on that, and I don't necessarily need to. But the bottom line is that in order to survive and to build a good reputation and to serve our users, we have to be providing an excellent service, a really good service. Again, because our competition's free. So if we didn't do a good job and a better job, then we wouldn't be very successful. And so I think that we really strive. Most job seekers nowadays aren't saying, oh, this is fun, this is great. They're kind of saying this sucks. We think that there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for improvement in this market. And so that's kind of where we really derive so much of our passion and our excitement, because we've all been in that experience. Our whole entire team works flexible hours, telecommuting, and has reasons for wanting that flexibility in our lives. And so we know we really innately understand what our job seekers are looking for. So that's the
awesome.
Yeah. Quick and not so quick, but dirty.
And I think on that note, this is probably a good chance to wrap up the webinar. It's about 20 minutes past the hour, and I know we've had a number of people drop off, so we'll let everybody get back to their days and back to their job searches. But thank you all very, very much for coming. Thank you to Sarah me. I'll combine you two. You're now Sarah me. Thank you to Sarah and Jeremy for sharing your
Sarah me, whatever.
Yeah, Sarah me for sharing your information today. For more information, you can obviously go to flexjobs.com. Please also join us on Facebook after this for answers to more of your questions. It's facebook.com/flexjobs, and we're always there. If you ever have any questions, feel free to post them on our board, and we try to answer them as soon as possible within that 24 hours. We'll also be sending an email to all attendees, everyone who could attend and who couldn't attend. So if you have friends who were unable to attend, they'll be getting the same email with a link to the PowerPoint slides, the video, and answers to all of these questions as well. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope that you got some good information out of this, and the best of luck to all of you in your job searches. And have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Bree, and thanks, Jeremy, and thanks, everybody, for joining. We really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.